Hey y'all, I'm Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. Good evening. Welcome. We are so excited to be here. We are ready for back to school. It's August 2025. If we haven't met, I'm Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. We are here to take your questions like we do every week and hopefully get you some answers that will help you with your kids to have successful student outcomes. So, Rachel, do we have any questions?
Yeah, so we have next questions of when is the next training?
Yeah, so we have the 2-day on demand is available now. We don't have a 2-day virtual scheduled, but we should be getting a virtual and a mastermind scheduled in the next week or so, and we'll put that up on the academy.
Yeah. You want to remind everyone the best way to get their weekly professional development?
Your best way to get your weekly professional development and get your questions answered and be part of an amazing team of parents and educators and administrators and evaluators and advocates is to join the academy. We meet every Monday night for an hour. I train on federal law requirements and expectations and statutes, and then we open it up for questions so that we can answer your questions so we can get you the resources you need.
Great. Okay. My 3-year-old has her IEP meeting in 2 weeks. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, so before the meeting, you want to make sure that you have the evaluation, a complete electronic draft of all the evaluations that were completed. You also want to get a draft of the IEP. So this is the email you send. Please send us a full draft copy of the IEP document, knowing that it's just a draft and all decisions are made in the meeting. Without that draft, it's unlikely I'll be able to make an informed decision and we might have to reschedule. So you want to be able to make sure that you go with all of the documents reviewed so that you have your questions ready and you can fully participate.
My son's IEP states he will always be promoted to the next grade. What can I request they do to help?
So that's not legal. An IEP has nothing to do with promoting to the next grade. So that's not, an IEP is an individualized education program. So it shouldn't have any language about whether or not the child goes to the next grade. So I would take that out. That violates IDEA. So certainly I would just have them take that out. It's not appropriate. It's not legal.
And to give more context, he's in 6th grade, but developmentally he's in 3rd grade with a few comments down.
Yeah. I mean, so we just need to make sure that we're writing IEP goals for him that are appropriate in light of his circumstances so he can make meaningful progress.
Okay. What would you have for an advocate working with somebody with CP? This is my first time.
What would I have for an advocate? If I was an advocate, what would I do for a client that had a child with cerebral palsy?
Yeah, let's go with that.
We'll go with that. So, no matter what the student's eligibility is, I'm going to make sure that I have all the records from the last 2 to 3 years, all the IEP progress reports, the last IEPs, the evaluations, that initial evaluation, then any subsequent reads or reevaluations of existing educational data, IEP progress reports, and then parent concerns. And then I prep those files. We Zoom with the parent, and then we talk about making sure that his eligibilities are correct, that he has a robust present levels, and that's tied to baselines so that we can develop the IEP goals that he needs, and then add a corresponding service.
Are you in Texas?
I am in Texas. Look at the hairdo. I am in Texas, but I just got 3 new clients this afternoon: Texas, California, and Massachusetts. So myself and our team members, we advocate all over. I will be in Florida in the morning, and then back in Texas, and then back in California in the afternoon. So that is the great thing that's the only good thing that I think came out of the pandemic, is that we do everything virtual now, which makes for really successful business meetings.
Any recommendations for a child starting general education kindergarten who has an IEP and has been in special education the last 2 years?
Yeah, I would just put together what I call a Zac Pack, and that is like a 4x6 picture of your kiddo, and then a copy of the IEP, and then sort of a one-page summary of what are his strengths, what's he working on, what's the best way to contact the parents or the grandparents, what he will work for, what are his interests, and then, just offering to partner with the staff. I would give that to the PE teacher. I would give it to the music teacher. I would give it to the art teacher, and I would give it to the kindergarten teacher, and then a copy to any paraprofessionals or special educators that are working with him. I hope that every teacher in America has every child's IEP before school starts and has a chance to look at it, but I know that's not true. No fault of the teachers. Sometimes schools just are a little slow at getting that to the staff. So this is a great way to introduce yourself, introduce your child, and then partner with them for a great 2025, 2026.
And a student graduated with a failing grade at his high school with an IEP.
So grades don't quantify whether or not you graduate if you've acquired the credit. So depending on what the IEP says, the acuity of his disability, how the grades were reported. Was it a general ed grade? Was it a special ed grade? Did they jointly report the grade? Was it based upon participation? Did the district just promote them and graduate them? So I would find out those pieces.
My son was in band in 5th grade, and they said he can't have it for 6th grade because of IEP.
Oh, I would say that's a problem. That's discrimination, and that's illegal. So let's not do that.
What school would you recommend in Fort Worth, Texas?
So that is a good trick question. I've been thrown out of a parking lot in Fort Bend. Well, there was a parking lot removal attempt, which of course, as you know, did not occur. School districts are run by humans, and we've got some amazing humans in special ed. We used to have some humans in special ed that probably shouldn't be in special ed. So really looking at what your child needs. Obviously find a neighborhood, an area, a house of faith, whatever it is that you're looking for to purchase your house. We have lots of great schools. When you can, you would do well to have representation in an IEP meeting. And it's just the truth. It doesn't matter if you're a special education teacher. I have a client right now who is actually in charge of reading curriculum for a monster district, and I'm her advocate because parents need support. When you're in that meeting, it's hard to be the advocate and the parent. So if you can get support and an advocate, do that. We have a team of them. But I would love to tell you that ABC School District will be great. But we don't find that any client that we serve, that we can't get them a robust IEP and get appropriate services so they can make expected gains.
I was told he can't have music therapy because they don't have anyone to do it, but it's in his IEP.
Oh, super. You don't have anybody to do it? Well, then we'll just have it done privately. Yeah. So that's what we do. Sounds like you might be in New Hampshire. Yeah, that's what they told me in New Hampshire. I said, silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. So guess what? We got music therapy.
What a throwback.
Throwback. Did she say throwback, Travis? Is she trying to make us feel old? You want to know how old I am? Today, Rachel, I am at the Schlotzky's looking really good. I just had my hair poofed. Nothing makes me happier than a fresh poof. And the lady said that my sandwich was $10.71. And I had a $10 bill, 2 quarters, a dime, 2 nickels, and a penny. I did it all myself. And she goes, she opens the thing and she's like, it's $9.40. I was like, I thought you said it was $10.71. She goes, well, I looked out the window. I could see you were a senior. So it gave you a discount. I'm like, yes, I am here for the senior discount. Like a few years ago, that would have bothered me. I was like, I will keep this 93 cents, ma'am. Thank you. Wow. I'm the hottest senior you saw today. I looked out the window and could see you were a senior. Well, I'm a sizzling senior, ma'am. Sizzling senior.
Absolutely. So what is the criteria for a child to get compensatory time?
They were denied FAPE. They were denied a free, appropriate public education. You've brought that to the school. You can quantify it, which is really why you all need to all join the academy. Like everybody, people you like, people you don't like, everybody should join the academy. So when a service, an important component of the IEP wasn't delivered, you deny the student FAPE. And so we go to the school and we ask for them to provide an offer of compensatory time to return the student back to where they would have been had the violation not occurred.
What are you hearing about cell phone exceptions for IEPs or 504s? We were told today medical only, and then I'm gonna have to find out that it's cut off. But I'll let you start.
Yeah. So it's a new law in Texas, and I just have to say this: hallelujah. So if I was a teacher, I'm not a teacher. You all know I'm not a teacher. But if I was a teacher, when I said put your phone away, I promise you every kid in my class would put the phone away. I don't find teachers nowadays, if that's good English, nowadays are good at managing the classroom. They're usually pretty good at teaching. And I have kids that the teacher will say, well, he wouldn't put his phone away the whole year. I'm like, just tell him to, right? So in Texas, we just passed a law, no more cell phones in schools, period. There's 3 exceptions. The law is 1481. If you would like, we can do a video on that. Would you like that? Just put some hearts in there if you would like that. Where are the heart people? Oh, look at all the hearts. Yeah, so we can do that. And there's exemptions. If you have a Dexcom, if you're diabetic, if you use it, if you use assistive technology in any kind of device, whether it's your to mitigate your disability, of course, those are exceptions. And that should already be in your IEP. But just to call mommy at noon and have her bring you up your Chick-fil-A, that's over, Joe. That is over, Joe. You're going to have to eat in the cafeteria. In the olden days when we went into junior highs or high schools, there would be tables. I mean, tables of Chick-fil-A. I don't like Chick-fil-A. I don't know where the skin is. I want my chicken to have skin on it. I don't like people. You don't need to bring Billy a lunch every day from Chick-fil-A and give him a hug. So, moms, go get a hobby. Kids, eat in the cafeteria. It's a bonding experience. Isn't it? The cafeteria? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's social. It's some real social skills in person.
Yeah.
Is Texas a good state for level 1 autistic child? We are planning to move, and Texas is one of the places on the list.
So is Texas a good state for kids with disabilities? So we have a phenomenal state. I live here. We don't rank very high in special education delivery services, but when you have an advocate, a good advocate, those outcomes are changed. And so certainly if that's something you're looking to do, obviously I love Texas. We live in Texas. But, special ed is not a high priority for many states that's really paramount. So you want to make sure that you have a good IEP, that you hold your position, that you don't waffle or waver on what is appropriate for that child. And when you can, certainly get support.
Best piece of advice for a first-time SPED teacher coming into a not-so-great SPED program?
Electrolytes, pantyhose, prayer, and preparation. That's the 3 Ps. It's what I do every day. I'm prayed up, I'm prepared, and I got my pantyhose on. But remember, it's not about remember your why. It's about remember your who. And the who is those children. You're going to change their lives. You have the ability with the gift of persuasion and input and love and support to change a child's life. What an amazing vocation you have. So thank you for serving kids.
What are we covering tonight in the academy?
Yeah, so we're in a series every page of the IEP. When you print out software of a blank IEP, it's 143 pages long. So most IEPs, parents don't realize what's missing, nor do always school-based members or parents understand the obligations of the contents of the IEP, depending on the child's disability, depending on their grade level, those sorts of things.
You kind of already answered this, but this is a slightly different question. What do you recommend? Do you recommend any schools in Fort Worth, Texas for middle school?
So I recommend that you find an amazing neighborhood that you want to live in. We don't find that there's only one school district in the entire United States of America that I do not take clients, and that is Houston Independent School District. And I live in Houston. It's a district of 250,000 children, and they are terrible to their teachers. And you'll be in an IEP meeting in Houston, and there'll be 2 people there, and you'll be one of the 2. So about 6 years ago, I just stopped taking clients because I'm an amazing advocate, but I have to be ethical. I don't want to like write an amazing IEP and know that it's not going to be delivered, and it's just not delivered in Houston ISD. But any other school district from the Kodiak Islands to Miami-Dade, and then the other direction, Maine. I'm like you know what I need? I need that felt board from Sunday school for Vacation Bible School. Remember, we would just put the little people up and the camels and all that. But we live in a great country, and we can get it right for any kid in any city, and we do that.
Mm-hmm. Is it true some kids don't? Is it true some schools don't mainstream kids?
Not when I'm there, and that would be illegal. That would be segregation, which we got rid of that a long time ago. Somebody said, can I define your role as an advocate? Yeah. So I've been representing families for 29 years. I do about 500 IEP meetings. I'm allowed to represent families in Texas, in Florida, and many other states, all the way through due process hearings, and have done that against attorneys and prevailed for my clients. At any point, I probably have 100 Office of Civil Rights federal complaints open, anywhere between 10 and 20 state complaints. We do trainings for school districts, agencies nationally, and I'm amazing. I'm my favorite person. If you knew me, you would love me. So I love serving these kids. It came about from trying to get services for my own child. I am not a teacher. God bless teachers. I am not an attorney. I am an advocate. And somebody said, how much is it to be an advocate? So there are advocates that advocate for families for free. Most advocates start out charging $50 an hour, but certainly you would need some training, and so we provide this training. We put out 52 pieces of content every single day across 7 platforms because we want you to have answers and resources to be in schools in IEP meetings. It's nothing better than when myself and my team, when we're out training and people come up to us and say, we used your content and now my daughter is reading at grade level, or she's improved in this. And so it's amazing. So we love doing what we do.
Yes, and you are very good at it, Miss Karen. Can a paraprofessional work in a resource classroom with her own child who is not independent at all?
I wouldn't recommend it. We get I always say 2 people are too close to the child sometimes, the school and the parent. The parent, being the special educator, can bring in a lot of problems, but if you're the only one that's available, then we certainly understand that. I do want to answer something that somebody just said. Somebody said, do you think 53 pieces of content a week is oversaturation? No, it's 52 pieces of content every day, every 24 hours. I don't think you could ever have enough saturation to learn the federal code that's 300 pages long. So no, if I could put out 100 pieces of content a day, I would do that. People need the help. There's 8 million children in America, and it's the only federal law that parents enforce, unfortunately.
Yes, ma'am. Who's responsible for inclusion for students in self-contained classes? Self-contained paras or inclusion teacher?
Well, inclusion happens in general ed. It doesn't happen in a self-contained class. So it's responsible for how the IEP is written, right? And so we need that when we're having inclusion time for a student participating in general ed, that we make sure that they have special ed support. We just did a training last week on paraprofessionals who we love, but they're limited role. And so you want to make sure that this instructional year, that when your child, a special ed child that has special education goals, when they go into a general ed class, that they're supported by a special educator or a para who is directly supervised by the special educator. And so, yes, we have trainings for special ed teachers. 75% of the people that we train are school-based members. And that's an honor because it's not available for them in schools in a way that's palpable and useful. So we love that we get to train the trainers.
Mm-hmm. What if a school doesn't have someone to fill a special ed teacher's spot?
Okay, well then the students have been denied FAPE. I find that when an advocate shows up, that we have some people sitting at admin in an office that could come fill that room. So when we have differences and have to have dispute resolution sessions or resolution meetings with districts, it's amazing how quickly they staff a room when the state mediation session, a federal complaint requires it. Yep.
Okay, special education teacher considering career change to an advocate, but really want to discuss with someone. Are you available for this type of conversation?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that we're not available for the conversation. I would recommend that you join the Academy. The Academy is $97 a month, and you can get your questions answered in that. But, you know, advocates are desperately needed. There's, just in Texas, there's 775,000 children with an IEP. I live in a city of 8 million people in Houston, and there's not one advocate in this city that I would recommend to anybody other than myself, that knows the law, that is a good negotiator, understands the requirements and responsibilities that exist in the IEP and the obligations, duties, and responsibilities of the school district. So we would love to train you. It would be an amazing pivot for you, and there is an endless need for people to have advocates.
Mm-hmm. How long does the school have to produce a copy of an IEP?
You mean like after?
If they don't even okay, just ignore that last part. Start with the first part.
Yeah, so I assume after you finish your meeting that the school is going to, complete the document, populate whatever areas they need, and then of course complete a prior written notice, which is a federal requirement, with all 7 pieces, and then send that to you. So the only language about providing an IEP to a parent in the federal code, unlike what many people have been told, is that it has to be provided at no charge and without delay. So you should be able to just email whoever and say, please email me a copy of the IEP.
Do you think pairs' roles are to clean up tables and make all the copies?
I think that paras have different support roles depending on the teacher, and if that's assisting with production of materials, I would say yes. Is that their only role? It would depend on the job that you were hired for. So when you have a job that's posted, I would look at that. I would assume that there will be times that the paras or the special educator or the general educator is going to have to produce product and clean up the room.
I sent a message with my situation I need help on.
Okay. When you say you sent a message, like you sent us an email, you can certainly send us an email if you're looking for representation or guidance or direction on our trainings. You can send us an email at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
What if they had your child placed in the wrong setting because they got cut off, and then the next one is repeat?
Yeah. You want to ask us the question again, if your child was placed in the wrong setting? We'll try to get that.
Just go from that. Let's see if they put it back.
Somebody said quality disability support should be a right. You seem focused on profit over progress. I'm not really sure what that means, profit over progress. So if I was interested in profit over progress, I probably wouldn't pay people to work for me to put out free content. And so I respectfully disagree with you. This is not a profit business. We're changing families' outcomes and we're giving children hope. So when you talk about rights, that sounds good, right? You have a right to be represented in court, and you can go to court by yourself. Some people bring an attorney. I'm sure that some people think that you shouldn't have to pay an attorney, but every person is worth they earn their wage, and we are certainly as advocates worth our wage. But it's unfortunate that you feel that way.
Are freshmen entitled to the same electives in SPED, SDC as general education?
So there's some electives that wouldn't be appropriate if you're in a self-contained class with those needs, but they certainly have the same catalog of electives that are available for them. So I certainly wouldn't have a child that's in that self-contained class maybe using welding, maybe in, what do they call it, wood shop? They have so many things now that people are using saws and, they're making things that may not be appropriate. So you certainly look through that catalog like you would for any other kiddo going to high school and find which electives most appropriate.
I have an IEP meeting coming up with my son's school. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you want to make sure that you have your drafts ahead of time and that you email the school. Please provide us a full draft copy of the IEP. I would also send an email saying, can we please have a list of the attendees and their role? That way you know who's going to be there, if you're going to be in person or remote. And then, of course, find out what the time constraints are.
Oh, we have the rest of the question. So what if your child's placed in the wrong setting without assessments? He was not in least, I'm assuming that's his least restrictive environment.
So if we didn't implement the IEP, we didn't implement the IEP. So then you're due compensatory time.
Okay. I lost my place. I gotta go back 70 something comments. So, can you tell us about the new app?
Yeah, so we have a new app, Special Education Academy, which is free. And then all the content that comes out every day on YouTube, you get that. So all of those videos comes right to your phone. So that is an amazing free resource for you guys. Somebody just said she's an ESE teacher in Florida. God bless people in Florida. We love the schools in Florida. We have lots of clients in Florida. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Congrats, Texas. I hope my state follows. I guess that was back when we were talking about.
Yeah, they need to put them cell phones away. Get back to learning. And then somebody said they sent us a message with all of this going on with them on Facebook. We have over 1 million views every 7 days. So if you want to reach out to us, go ahead and email us directly at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. We don't have the team to answer every direct message on all platforms, but we certainly want to address your needs if it's something we can support you with.
Mm-hmm. Have you led a classroom in the last 20 years?
Have I led a classroom? Advocates don't usually lead a classroom. That would be teachers.
Okay. Have you ever been to the autism? We're going to find the rest of that question. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Is Pennsylvania good for children with special needs?
Pennsylvania is a wonderful state for humans. So, I mean, it's not there. I don't have a state that's good for special needs and bad for special needs. Again, school districts are run by people. So the quality of the special education program is first the purview of the school board and then the executive director of special education.
What should I know about, I'm assuming that's early childhood special education, as a school counselor in Florida?
I mean, there's not a lot of need for a school counselor to be a part of early childhood special education, ECSE, because that's for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. But if you have a child that is, going to need counseling as a related service for elementary school, that might be a time that you would jump in.
Okay. And then coming back to the autism question that started, I have the rest of it. Have you been to any autism schools in Ohio?
Have I been to an autism school in Ohio? No, I've not been to an autism school in Ohio. I do have a family that has a child in a private school for autism in Ohio, though. They've not asked me to come, but I am available. I'm happy to get on a plane and come and train them.
Okay, there's a lot of shorthand in this one, so be patient with me. So, student has small group reading services during intervention segment, but is in core instruction with no support, ... legal, ?
That doesn't rise to the level of an IEP. Reading intervention is not necessarily special ed. So I might want to, make sure that you get the IEP out and make sure that we're all on the same page about what we need this year.
What type of school is best for special needs kids?
I think, in my opinion, and I will never waver on this, public schools are the absolute best setting for kids with disabilities when we get it right. And almost always we get it right. I would never recommend, and I know this is going to hurt somebody's feelings, but I'm okay with that. I would never recommend charter schools because charter schools are schools of choice and they have a much lighter staff. And when they do have a special educator, I find that he or she is running up and down 3 or 4 floors trying to service all the kids in the building. So, and all the kiddos that I've served in the last almost 30 years, because, I'm a senior, I've had many children leave public schools and go to charter schools, although they have the same legal requirements, and it is a bust. So, and not in a good way.
Okay. What is the best place for IEP goals?
In the IEP. So in the IEP, you want to have robust present levels, right? And those present levels identify what? The student's unique circumstances, right? Emotional, functional, academic, communicative, all of those pieces. And then based upon those identified deficits in the present levels, we write appropriate IEP goals. An IEP goal does one thing. It teaches a child with a disability a strategy to self-manage their disability. And then we're going to, of course, have a corresponding service to support those minutes.
What do I do if the school is always calling me to pick up because of eloping? Should I add something to the IEP?
You should add something to the email because that he's out of placement. So I would say, Dear Elm Elementary School, this is Miss Smith. I picked up my child today at 12:15 because you were unable to educate him. This is pickup number 1. And then when it gets to be about 2 times, I would say we need to call an IEP meeting to look at if this campus is appropriate placement, because the student is required to be educated in the campus. So when you start sending kids home, you set up a terrible cycle.
Another para and I are in a classroom with this difficult teacher. She doesn't take any of our suggestions.
Well, you could always come train with us and be an advocate. It's unfortunate that people have to work in settings where people are not supported. That's terrible. But yeah, we hear that a lot.
Oh, you're going to have an opinion on this next one. What are your thoughts on the para being the parent? So I think that needs to be reversed. So the child can remain in school.
No. It's the school's obligation to educate your child, whether that's at a public school, in the criminal justice system, in a psychiatric unit, at homebound, in a TEP unit. We are recusing the district from doing their job when we go and do these things. When we go and we come and help. That is the job of the school district. That's what they're professionals at, educating children with disabilities. And so we need to let them do their job.
Is it true self-contained is not good for kids with special needs, especially cerebral palsy? Or she says CP.
So cerebral palsy doesn't drive where I implement the IEP. So I had a young man that I advocated for 9 years, and when I got him, he was 3, and he has cerebral palsy, and he was in a self-contained life skills class without a communication device. And after that, he was never in a self-contained class because that wasn't the appropriate setting. Unfortunately, we often place children in self-contained classes that have disabilities that we are not familiar with or have a lot of staff to support. So kiddos that have physical limitations, orthopedic impairments, vision impairments, medically complex, deaf and hard of hearing, deaf blind, that's somehow that you need to go to self-contained. And that's really why it's paramount that if you can get representation or you can get good training, that you get that.
Can the state remove the services implementer in an IEP? CT will remove it by 2026.
The state doesn't write IEPs. So since they don't write IEPs, they can't adjust them.
Had a principal tell me that she didn't have time for my child's IEP.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we'll have a meeting to look at out-of-district placement at the expense of the district. We'll look for some place that has time.
Yeah. And then I think you already answered this one earlier. How much is it to become an advocate?
I mean, you could just become an advocate today. So we have a 2-day training that's recorded on demand. It's $9.97. It's 2 days of training. You have the recording forever. But, you know, the best way to jump in is just to join the academy, which is $97 a month, because it's every 7 days. You're getting in there. You're getting your questions answered. You're learning from everybody else in there. And we're training on series. Also in the academy, there's over 300 hours of past trainings that I've done. So you could, you know, train yourself.
Will you take a client in NB, I think Nevada? Oh, Travis, you got something?
Wrong thing to do, in my opinion. Period.
About
Travis, go ahead.
when you say, I think we have two things going. So, yeah. So, Travis, if you just want to mute yourself there, thank you. So, Rachel, tell me the question again.
Yeah. Will you take a client in NV? I think that's Nevada.
Nevada. We'll take a client anywhere in the United States of America, and we have a full team of advocates that also take our clients.
You kind of answered this, but I want to read it because she's really sweet. So, how do you become what you are? I'm very inspired.
Oh, so I mean, I became what I was, what I is, what I will be. Baptism by fire. I had a child in the 90s in special ed, and I couldn't believe how there was no training for the school-based members, and I started on a call list with the Texas Education Agency in the 90s, and I just thought, wow, there's this amazing law that's been in place for a really long time, and we could just follow it. We could just give kids what they're supposed to have, the federal code, and then we could just do it. And I started going with families and helping them get services and walk through the paperwork. And, you know, then it just became my full-time job, and I love it. And this is not a business. You don't want to be an advocate if you want to be popular, because as you can see in the thread, everybody has an opinion. But we're not in the opinion business. We're in the service business. We're serving children at the highest level. We give families hope, and we give children a future by partnering with school districts to provide amazing outcomes for kids. And so everybody has an opinion about it, but I'm doing what God asked me to do, and I love it, love it, love it, and I'll do it all the days of my life. And so the reason that we started the academy is because we want you to have training that's available. When you type in special education training on Google, it'll say become a special education teacher, or it'll direct you to a law class. And while both of those are great, being a special education teacher doesn't give you the complete skill set that you need to be an advocate at an IEP table, dealing with 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 people as you navigate and negotiate outcomes for students, help classes get staffed, and release resources for kids with disabilities.
And then while we're on the topic, do I have to be a college graduate to be an advocate?
No, I am a college dropout. You all know that. I do not have a college degree. I won't be getting a college degree. I do have a Sam's card and a Costco card, but I am self-taught and am allowed by hearing officers to represent kids in due process hearings. And so a college degree is not going to make you a good advocate, because there's no college degree about IDEA. There's not a college degree about IDEA. So that's why we were trying to bring this training to you on every possible level that you want to participate.
Okay, would love to know about a great resource for IEP goals.
So Dr. Mitchell Yell has a great book on writing IEP goals. So if you go to Special Education Academy and go to our bookshelf, we have it linked there.
The counselor said she would get everyone for a meeting for school. Who should I email? It's been quiet.
The counselor. And there's nothing, if you can't get people by email, I would just show up to the school and say, I need to get this scheduled. Let me know who I need to talk to.
Okay. And then you can have two back-to-back here. I want to know more about your training sessions, and then I would love to be interested in training for becoming an advocate.
Yeah.
So I think we've on that.
Yeah, so we have the academy, we have 2-day, we have digital products, we have a mastermind, we have one-on-one training that we do. Whatever rate that you're ready to go, we are ready to support you in.
Thank you.
Oh, thank y'all.
Okay, I'd be interested. Do you have sessions for SPED teachers?
So the sessions are for anybody that sits at the IEP table. So everybody at the IEP table is an advocate. Some of them are really trained and some of them aren't. And so this is for everybody that sits at the table, however you sit at the table, any of the 5 stakeholders, right? The general educator, the special educator, the parent, the LEA representative, the assessment evaluator that can interpret results. All of this training is the same for everybody. There's not a different training for parents and a different training for teachers. We're all obligated to do the same thing at the IEP table.
Do I need an advocate for the first IEP meeting?
If you can get representation, I would certainly do that. Every meeting is heading your child towards, gainful employment, independent living, and further education. And what you don't know, you don't know. And so you have to understand that a school doesn't have a legal obligation to tell you every possible thing that they could do for a child with a disability. And, the learn as you go, which is what I had to do with my child, is a long, arduous process, and you might have missteps. And so if you can get representation to support you, even if that's in a records review, certainly do that.
Country Mama, please read my message and give me guidance. I'm a special education teacher and I need help.
Yeah, so I don't know what your message is. If you want to email us, if you have a long question, you can do that. But
I think this is the same person earlier who said they had sent you and you kind of addressed it by.
Yeah, if you send us a direct message on LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram, we don't have the hands to reach all of those. But thank you for all that you're saying. That's nice. But if you're looking for support, if you're looking to be trained, if you're looking for representation, then email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Somebody said, who did that blowout? Kristen Marie does my blowout twice a week. She's amazing. Thank you for recognizing the blowout. We're going to get Rachel a blowout. She doesn't know it, but we're just about to get her. She'll be ready for, the facts of life.
The facts of life. Ooh, Shannon pinned. Oh, Shannon pinned your email. How fancy of her.
Wow, Shannon. Look how she's so smart. Advocate. Okay. Look at you, Shannon.
Shannon. I don't know how she did that.
I don't know. Shannon will be doing a 7-week training on how to pen a comment on a TikTok live. So good.
Yes. Okay, and then I lost where it was because
somebody just said, should special education teachers know all this info? And do you come in when they're not doing their job? So I train school districts. It's not that teachers aren't doing their jobs. Nobody's training the teachers. No, I've met 1 million special educators in the last 3 decades. Nobody has said, hey, my school district trains us on the federal law. You shouldn't be allowed to be in a building as an educator, a special educator, or para without the district going, here, Cindy, here, George, I wanted you to have a copy of the law. We just send in teachers there and go Bobcats. And so that's the fault of admin. That is not the fault of the teachers. But yes, every teacher should know what the federal law says about a free, appropriate public education.
How much is training?
It varies. Training is anywhere from $97 to much more amounts. So it would just depend on what it is that you're looking for.
Where can I find the IEP forms?
IEP forms?
Yeah.
I don't know what IEP forms are.
Okay, I would be interested in training to become an advocate. Okay, so yes, we've talked about that. Can you explain push-in support in general education classrooms?
Yeah, that's when we push in special educators and or paras that are supervised by special educators to support a child with a disability in the general ed setting.
Principal here. I've learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. See? Nothing better than a great principal. That's where I spent most of my elementary school years, in the principal's office. I know that's surprising, isn't it? They said when I was in school that I talked too much. Isn't that weird? What do I do for a living? I'm a talker. Yeah. Make sure we're not trying to squeeze out a child's gift because we're forming it when they're little.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Karen, will you touch on playgrounds that are not ADA compliant? It's a problem.
Yeah, so you would need to file a federal complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights because that's illegal. So we have a digital training that you could invest in on the academy. But I just got a complaint opened in a monster school district for 98 playgrounds. Playgrounds have to be compliant since 1990. So if a person in a wheelchair can't push themselves on the surface of the playground and get to all the pieces and there's not adaptive equipment, it's an illegal playground. But that includes schools, churches, anywhere there's a public playground, they're required to abide by ADA. There's not any ADA police officers running around outside, so we have to become those.
Mm-hmm. If a school scans raw data sheets into a digital folder, must they still retain the originals? I mean, you would need to retain them for the year that you need them. I would certainly recommend that we retain all special ed records for at least 2 years because you're legally bound by them if the parent brings forth a dispute in the form of a due process hearing. School starts next week. I haven't heard from no one. I emailed the principal or counselor for an update on the meeting.
Go in person. Yeah, I like to just show up like they did in Terms of Endearment. Just show up. Okay, so Shannon, I don't see your pin anymore. Can you repin it? Or maybe it's in a secret pin section.
She's been answering questions while I'm
sitting. I know.
She's been on her game. Do you do free consultations?
So when people are interested in our services, they fill out an intake form, and then we do a 15-minute consultation call to see if we can help their student.
Do I have to sign the IEP right after the meeting, or can I have some time to read it after?
So I would sign at an IEP meeting wherever I was. I would sign, I'm signing it today, and I'm going to take my 5 days to review it. I'm signing it today, and I agree. I'm signing it today, and I disagree, and why. But I would never not sign an IEP. I don't know who is training people to do that, because when that IEP goes in front of a fact finder, a hearing officer, a mediator, a two-tier judge, the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, the U.S. Supreme Court, and you're the only person that didn't sign the IEP, it looks like you didn't participate. So participate and capture your position of your understanding of what happened in today's meeting.
What's the salary for an advocate? Master's, early intervention, SPED. I guess that's the degree or credential.
Yeah, so there are advocates that charge nothing. There are advocates that charge $25 an hour, and there are advocates that charge the same amount that attorneys charge. So it's built on years of experience and expertise. So it depends on how long you've been advocating.
PWN is sent after the IEP.
Yep. Yeah, because that's when you would know what you're going to do and what you're not going to do as the school-based members, and then you have an obligation to capture what you're going to do or not going to choosing to do or not choosing to do, and then you have to quantify that with 7 federal requirements.
Can a student test out of an IEP who has autism level 2 and is not independent or organized?
So you don't test out of an IEP. There's no longer an educational need. So certainly if we've done updated testing in all areas and there's no longer an educational need, then the student wouldn't need an IEP. But I do about 500 IEP meetings a year for almost 30 years, and I can count on less than one hand the number of kids that no longer needed an IEP legally.
Sorry, we have a lot of repeats. What is the max number of students allowed in a self-contained pre-K special education class with 3 adults?
So, there's not a max number. There's obviously most states and or school boards have some sort of guidance around that. There's no language about that in IDEA.
Why would would a school make my child take the STAR test without her reading aloud accommodation?
So the STAR test, you get some of your daily accommodations on the STAR test, but that would just depend on how your IEP meeting went. So if they're saying that it's against the law for you to have that, I would check with the state, your Department of Education. I would reach out to compliance at your Department of Education and say, is this accurate? Because sometimes it's not.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time. So how many more questions would you like to do?
We'll take 2 more questions. And just to remember, if you're looking for representation, you want to know about training, you want some direction from us on what of those avenues would be best, just email our staff at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. We want to get your questions answered, and because we know they're important for y'all.
Does a parent have to be present when hire a lawyer to do due process, and I just lost the rest of that.
So if there's
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If you have an idea. I was gonna ask something
I
else.
mean, if there's a due process, obviously the parent of the child with a disability has to be involved.
How do parents know if their kid isn't getting their time?
By conversations with the committee, right? You would say, so Miss Smith, tell me how the 100 minutes a week in math support is going for Billy. You have conversations, right? We assume competency. We assume the IEP is being implemented for every kid with fidelity. And when it's not, we need to address that and make adjustments. All right, you guys, remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We're excited about the 25-26 school year. We're excited about no phones in Texas. We can get back to learning. And if you need something, just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. We'll see you guys in the next training.
Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.